Welcome back to Monster Tamer, a 2D Pokemon-like RPG created Phaser 3. Previously, we worked on our options scene, and we focused on just doing the outline of our UI, so we added in all of our text game objects and our available options the player will be able to select. If you missed the previous videos, there'll be links in the video description to the source code up to this point, as well as the complete source code for this video. There'll also be a link to the previous videos if you'd like to catch up, so let's get started. Alright, so now that we have our basic UI design for our options scene done, the next thing we're going to focus on is player input. And so what we're going to do is we're going to add in logic to allow the player to move our cursor through the various options in our options menu, as well as we're going to add in cursors to know which of the sub options are actually selected. So to go ahead and do this, we need to add in some variables to keep track of which main option we're currently on and which of the options are actually selected. So to go ahead and do this, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and make a new file to keep track of which of our option menu is actually selected. And so what we'll do is we're going to come into our source folder. Let's go ahead and come into our comment folder. And we're going to go ahead and add a file called options.js. So we're going to go ahead and place this in our comment folder because we'll need to use this code in multiple locations. As an example, we'll need in our options scene. Once we connect our data manager to store our options data, we'll need to access it there. And we'll also need to access some of these values in our battle scene, for example, like the text speed, and if we should be skipping our animations. Alright, and so what we'll do is let's jump over to our direction.js file. Let's copy all of that code and paste it over into options.js. So what we'll do is for our option menu, we're going to go ahead and put in all of our various options. So we'll go ahead and update our enum's name. We're going to call this option menu options. Then for our variable, we're going to call this option menu options. And then we'll go ahead and just update our type def up here to have the right associations. And now we just need to update the values on our object. And so first we're going to have our text speed. Then we'll have our battle scene, battle style, sound, volume, our menu color, and then finally the confirm button. So it'll be our close button. And then real quick, what we'll do is we're just going to go ahead and add these all as our values. Alright, so now we've defined our option menu object. What we'll do is we'll jump back to our options scene, and we'll need to add in our logic for handling player input. So what we'll do is let's come to the top of our class. First thing we'll do is we'll add in our controls that we've been using. So go ahead and add in controls. Then we're going to go ahead and make a property to keep track of that selected menu option. So we'll do selected option menu. And let's go ahead and add in our types real quick. So let's go and copy this line and paste it. And so for our controls, that'll be an instance of our controls class. Our selected menu option is going to be our option menu options. And let's go ahead and jump down to our init method. And then what we'll do is after our 96 container, we'll go ahead and set our selected menu option to be equal to our text speed as our first option. So we'll go ahead and set this equal to options, menu options. And let's go ahead and set that to text speed. Then we'll come down to our create method, and at the very bottom, we'll go ahead and create our controls. So right after our options menu cursor, we'll go ahead and do this. Our controls will be equal to a new controls instance. We'll pass in our phaser scene. And then what we'll do is let's go ahead and add in our update method. And then that way we can start checking for our player input. So first, let's go ahead and check to see if our input is disabled. So we'll do our controls, is input locked? And if it is, we'll just go ahead and return it early. If it's not locked, let's go ahead and check to see what key was pressed. So we're going to do if this controls dot was back key pressed. And if they did press the back key to go ahead and exit, we'll go ahead and lock our input. So we'll do this controls lock input is equal to true. And then we'll go ahead and do our normal fade out effect. And what we'll do is we'll have an event listener to transition back to our title scene. And so go ahead and do that. We're going to do this. We'll grab our camera manager. Let's grab our main camera and let's do a fade out call. And for our duration, let's go ahead and do 500 milliseconds. and we'll do 0 so that way we fade to black. And then we'll go ahead and return early. So what we'll do is back up on our create method. Let's go ahead and add our event listener for our fade out effect. So we'll do this. We'll grab our cameras manager, grab our main camera. We'll do once, and we will do phaser, cameras, scene 2D, events. We want the fade out complete event. When we get this event, we want to trigger this callback. And so what we'll do is we'll do this, we'll do our scene, and we're going to do start, and we'll go ahead and transition to our title scene. So we'll go ahead and grab that from our scene keys. And we'll go ahead and save. All right, so if we go ahead and test real quick, if we're on our option scene, if we hit our shift key, we should transition back to our title scene. All right, so then what we'll want to do in our update method is we're going to check to see if one of our arrow keys is pressed. And if it was, then we're going to go ahead and update the selected option and then ideally move our game cursor to that next option. So let's go ahead and do const. We'll do our selected direction. It's equal to this. We'll grab our controls, get direction key, and we want to do just pressed. And then we'll do if selected direction does not equal direction.none. We will go ahead and move our cursor. So what we'll do is we'll make a new method for this. So we'll do this. We'll do move, option, menu, cursor. And we will pass in that selected direction. So let's go ahead and define that new private method. And we'll go ahead and have direction. And then we'll just go ahead and add in our types real quick. So for direction, this is going to be direction. All right, so in our new method, what we'll want to do is first, we're going to want to go ahead and take our direction that was pressed, and based on that direction, update our property for keeping track of which options selected. So we'll start off with text speed. So as an example, if the player presses down, then battle scene would be selected. So this is just going to be similar logic to like what we did to our menus in our battle scene. And then after we do that, then we'll actually want to update our cursor, so our actual game objects and our display. We'll update our Y property, so we go ahead and move that object throughout our scene. So what we'll do first is let's just add a safety check. So we're going to do direction equals direction.none. And if this ever is the case, we just want to return early. So if we ever refactor our code, so that way we allow our direction none, in this method, we explicitly do not want to do anything if that happens. Then what we're going to do is we'll make a new method. So we'll have a method for actually updating our internal state based on the button that was pressed. And then we'll have this method, which will actually be responsible for moving our game object in the rendering. So what we'll do is we'll do update selected option menu from input, and we will go ahead and take our direction. And we'll just copy this block of code here. Let's go ahead and paste it. And we're going to go ahead and rename our method. And then what we'll do is we're just going to go ahead and remove this line, and we'll leave our if statement for the time being. So after we update our selected menu option, then we'll want to go ahead and update our game object. So we'll go ahead and use a switch statement. And we're going to do this. We will do our selected option menu. And then inside here, we'll just want to do our case statements for our various option menu options. So we'll do case, we'll do our option menu options, and we will start off with our text speed. And so if we select text speed, what we want to do is we'll do our options menu cursor, and we're going to do set Y, and we're going to go ahead and set this to 70. And then we'll want to go ahead and do our break statement. And so what we'll do is we'll copy this block of code, and we will go ahead and paste it and update our values. So after text speed, we're going to have battle scene. If we go to battle scene, this is going to be 125. And then we want to go to battle style. Go ahead and do 180. And this should be battle style. And then we'll have sound. And if we go to sound, we'll be at 235. Volume, be at 290. We'll have our menu color, 345. And then finally, we'll have our confirm button, and we will be at 400. So then let's go ahead and add in our default statement, and we will do our exhaustive guard, and we'll pass in this selected option menu. We'll go ahead and save. All right, so then after we update our game object's position, we'll need to actually update our display text of our info object here. So what we'll do is right after our switch statement, we're going to do this. We'll grab our selected option info message text game object. We'll call the set text method to go ahead and update our text. And then we'll want to go ahead and do our option menu option info message object. And then for our key, we're going to go ahead and pass in our selected option menu. And so one thing to note here is in our options file, when we defined our option menu options object, we reuse the same keys that exist on our object here for all of our messages. So if you ever update one of these, we'll want to go ahead and align it with this. So then that way, as we update this, we'll have the right text being displayed. All right, so now let's go ahead and we'll add in our logic for actually updating the selected option. So what we'll do is we'll come down to our update selected option menu from input method. After our if statement, we're going to check which option is currently selected, and then based on that, and if up or down was pressed, we'll update our value. So we'll go ahead and start with this, our selected option menu, if it's equal to our option menu options, and we'll start with text speed. What we'll do is we'll have a switch statement, and then we'll do our direction. And so for our direction, we'll do case, we'll do direction down. And so if we do go down, we're going to do this. Our selected option menu is going to be equal to our option menu options. And we'll want to go ahead and go to battle scene. And then we can go ahead and return. And then we're going to copy this block of code and let's do up. And if we go ahead and go up, then we're going to go ahead and go to confirm. And then for our other cases, so we're going to have case, direction, right, and we'll have case, direction, left. What we'll want to do is we're just going to do a to do. And we'll go ahead and return. And then we'll go ahead and add in our default with our exhaustive guard, and we will do direction. All right, so one last thing is after our switch statement, we'll go ahead and return as we go ahead and return early. All right, so real quick, what we're doing here is based on our option that's selected, we're handling if our up or down key is pressed. If it is, we're now updating the currently selected option. So example, if I press down, the battle scene would be selected. If I pressed up, we'll loop back down to close. And then we have a to-do for left and right. And what that's going to be tied to is any options here. If we press left or right, for example, while text speed is highlighted, this would allow us to navigate between slow, mid, and fast, so we can select those options. And so now what we need to do is we just need to repeat this process for each of our options in our scene here. So let's just go ahead and copy this whole block of code, and we just need to update our values. And so we'll have battle scene will be next. If we go down, we're going to go to battle style. If we go up, it'll be to text speed. Then, if we are in battle style, we will go down to sound, and we will go up to battle scene. If we are on sound, we want to go down to volume and go back up to battle style. If we are on volume, we'll go down to menu color, back up to sound. And then finally, if we're on menu color, we'll go down to our confirm, our close button. We'll jump back up to volume if you press up. And for our last option, we are going to have our confirm, so our close button. If we go down, we're going to jump back up to text speed. And if you press up, we'll go ahead and go to menu color. And then so what we'll do is right outside our last if statement, we're just going to add in one more exhaustive guard to make sure we captured all of our options. We're going to do exhaustive guard. And we will do this, our selected option menu. All right, so now with our changes done, we should be able to go ahead and test. If we come to our scene, if we start pressing up and down, all right, so now if we go ahead and save, we should be able to test. So if we go ahead and come back to our scene, if we start pressing the up or down key, we'll see now our cursor now moves throughout our scene and the text for our selected option is updated. All right, so now that we can actually handle input if we're going up and down, what we'll do is we're gonna add in our logic for checking to see if the space key is pressed. And then if the space key is pressed and we have our close button selected, we'll go ahead and go back to our title scene. So if we come back to our update method, after our was back key was pressed, we're going to go ahead and do if this, our controls, and we'll do was space key pressed. And so space key was pressed, and this selected option menu is equal to our option menu options and is our confirm. Then we want to go ahead and lock our input and then basically do the same logic as our back button. So we'll go ahead and paste that. And then what we would actually do is we'd have logic for once we do that, we'll go ahead and save our changes and then that we can persist it. All right, so go ahead and validate that change to ship over to our scene. If we go ahead and go to our close button, press space, we see we go back to our title scene. All right, with that actually brings this video to an end. In our next video, we're going to continue working on our options scene, and we're going to focus on adding in logic to actually update our values for like our text speed here. So as a reminder, there's a link in the description of the video to the complete source code for this video. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the content. If you did enjoy the video, please consider liking the video and hitting the bell icon to be notified when the next video in the series is released. For more great Phaser 3 content, please see the links on your screen now.